So, some of you might know that I have one of these Harley Benton guitars. It's their most inexpensive guitar, and the reason why I bought it was basically because as a left-handed guitar player, you basically get to choose between either a white Strat or a black Strat, and so finally finding something that was inexpensive and easy to get in another color seemed exciting to me. You've seen this guitar in a couple of videos, and you most likely know that I've modded it a lot. None of those things were done because I felt like the guitar was bad. Now I had this funny idea for another video, which I'm gonna make, so stay tuned for that. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. So what I did was that I bought another one, and I thought it could be a fun review to talk about my experience with this guitar because I bought two of them. And here is the guitar, and at first glance it looks really nice, but it does have a lot of issues. Now, I know that some of you are gonna look at this video and you're gonna say it's a very inexpensive guitar, what did you expect? You can't buy something that inexpensive and assume that you're not gonna have to do any work on it. And I understand that completely. This is not a very expensive guitar. It's under €100 or something like that. It's like 96 euros or something like that. It was actually even cheaper when I bought my first one. I think it was somewhere around 76 or something like that. I don't really remember, but I've seen it gone up in price, and sadly it hasn't gone up in quality. Actually the opposite. And again, I realize it's not a very expensive guitar, and I realize that it's functional, so you can definitely get it to be a good guitar. I don't know, I'm sort of against the idea that you have to always fix things, that you can't just ever just buy something nice, and that it has to be like, oh, fix it. I don't really know. My point is that, I suppose, you could be a beginner at building guitars and not necessarily at the same time be a beginner at playing guitar. I didn't start building guitar immediately after I picked up playing guitar. And I think that's the case for at least most of the people who build guitars. There probably are some people out there who don't know how to play guitar but really likes to build them. And it's because it's a lot of fun to work with wood. But in most cases you start learning how to play the guitar and you don't know anything about setups or how to do those things. And so for those people, I just want to say I don't recommend this guitar. I know that you might be like, I want to save money and buy something very inexpensive, but I just feel like you're putting yourself up to failure, because if you had this guitar that I have here, I don't think you would continue playing guitar because it's really, 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 really bad. And I'm sorry to say that. The first one was really good. I actually was blown away. I thought that all those YouTubers who talk about Harley Benton was lying, because there's no way the guitar could be that good as they say. But then I got this guitar and I was blown away about how little money I had to put in to get something really, really good. And it wasn't perfect. I still needed to roll the edges a little bit. I didn't have any fret sprout or anything like that, but I still had to roll them a little bit to get them a little bit more comfortable. I had to do a little bit of intonation and put the string height down to my specifications, but you know, those are things that if you've played guitar for a long time, you will have your own way of liking things. So I don't see that as being a problem with the guitar. This guitar could use a new bridge, and this guitar could use new tuners. I think the pickups are okay, but they're not very Strat-like pickups. More mellow and dark than I think a Strat pickup should be. As a beginner guitar, I felt like it was good. I didn't feel like I had to do a lot of work, and I don't feel like I had to do that if I was a new beginner. It was basically okay out of the box. Not super awesome, but definitely impressive for the amount of money. But this new guitar, which we're gonna go through now, has a lot of issues, and it's sadly to the point where I feel like it's not worth the money, honestly. And it both has to do with the fact that the guitar has become more expensive. Why it has become more expensive, I can't really tell you. You'll have to ask Toman if you care enough to do so. I don't. But it's also the way it comes to you out of the box. It's just not good enough. I would say that it's better that you save up a little bit more money and buy something a little bit more reliable. And when I say reliable in this case, I'm talking about the brand. Because I feel like after buying 3 Harley Bentons, one that was more expensive than both of these guitars together, and buying 2 bass kits and 2 guitar kits, one was a Strat, you saw the video of me building a Jimi Hendrix guitar, and one was a Telecaster, you saw me building a Mike Bloomfield guitar. And if you haven't seen those videos, they are on the channel. There are playlists of them. You can go and watch those videos. But anyway, I also have a ukulele bass, and I just feel like the quality is all over the place. And especially when it comes to left-handed guitars, I feel like the kits that I got that were right-handed guitars were higher quality than the left-handed guitars. And that actually says a lot, or at least I think so, because the kits are not supposed to be perfect. They're supposed to be something for you to make into something perfect, while the guitars that come to you all finished and put together should be playable. If you've been on my channel and you saw the restoration I did of a Les Paul Jr., that was actually a Harley Benton. Most of you probably figured it out. I didn't want to talk about it because last time I tried to talk about that guitar, things got really nasty, so I decided to just skip the whole Harley Benton thing. But the truth is, that is one of their intermediate, or whatever you want to call it, priced guitars, and it was so horrendously bad that it was crazy. And I know that I should have sent it back, but instead I started to think about like, how can I mod this and make it work, which was super stupid. In hindsight, I would say that I shouldn't have done that, because I ended up spending a lot more time and energy and money on that guitar than it could ever possibly be worth. Now, this guitar, I would have sent it back if I were a new guitar player and I didn't know that much about setting up a guitar. But the thing is, I have a video that I want to do, and the quality of this guitar does not matter in the slightest for that video, so we're gonna keep this guitar. And in fact, after going through everything in this video of what I think of the guitar and everything that's wrong with it, because you know, most likely if you've been subscribed for a while, that I'm trying to find a positive way of looking at things, I'm gonna try to find a positive way. And the way that I've decided to make this positive is that I'm gonna make a video of this guitar. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm gonna make a video of this guitar showing you what I think you should do to make this a really nice playing guitar. So that's gonna be the next video. It's not gonna be coming out immediately because I have other things that I have to do, but it's gonna come really soon. And so if you're watching this video because you have this guitar and you're unhappy with it, looking at this, hoping that maybe my experience is different, then yes, don't worry. We'll make a video talking about how to fix this and make it better. Okay, so let's quickly now go through the guitar and why I don't like it. But do keep in mind that I know that this is an inexpensive guitar, but I still think that these things are worth talking about because that lets you know what you're in for. And also, there are things here that you might feel like, oh, I could fix that super easily and it doesn't bother me. But there are some things here that you might feel that you will not be able to fix, and so they might really bother you. I also just want to point out another thing that bothers me with the Harley Bentons real quickly. And if you want me to talk more about this, we'll talk about it in another video, but something that I've noticed is that if you buy the most inexpensive Harley Bentons, the lower priced ones, and you decide to go with the dark wood on the fretboard, you're never 100% sure of what kind of wood you're actually getting. Because sometimes it seems like you're gonna get rosewood, but it's never rosewood. It sometimes says that it's Purple Heart, and they have like 3 different names for Purple Heart, but it's all the same. And sometimes it is, but sometimes it's actually chemically blackened maple. And I'm not completely sure of what that does to the wood, but I don't think it's good for the wood to be chemically treated. I also don't think it's good for the environment. But sometimes, and this is one of the reasons why I was super angry about my Les Paul Jr., sometimes you have pretty nice wood and they've painted it to make it darker because they want to make it look like it's ebony when it's, you know, Purple Heart. And the thing is, Purple Heart is a nice wood, so you don't need to do that. You could be proud over having a guitar with Purple Heart because it's nice. And the thing is, with those guitars, is that they will be a horrible mess for you. If you get one of the ones, if you're really unlucky and you get one of those with that painted the wood black, I'm not talking about dyeing it, I'm talking about straight up painting it. It will come off on your fingers, it will mess everything up for you. You'll clog up your strings super fast, and it will be hell to remove. Like, you will use white spirit, you will use nail polish remover, you'll try everything to get it off, and it will be super hard. I managed after several hours to clean my fretboard on my guitar, and it was a total mess. Okay, so let's quickly go through this guitar. And obviously I've said this before, so please, like, don't be offended. If you like this guitar, if you have one that is good, it's awesome. I have 2 of these, as I've already said. One of them came to me really, really good. And that was maybe in 2017, 18, somewhere around there. I really like that guitar. I really enjoy it. But this one is just not up to standards. Okay, so let's start with the things that really annoy me. The first one is that on this guitar, I did not get a left-handed nut. I got a right-handed nut flipped. You can see that it's leaning the wrong way. The nut leans this way, it's supposed to lean that way. It's super annoying. I don't like it. I'm not getting any weird buzzing or anything like that, but it is kind of annoying. It could create some issues, and you would have to replace the nut. And the thing is, if you buy a new nut, maybe a bow nut or something like that, sure, it's going to be an upgrade, but it's also going to be an expense. If you're buying this guitar because you think like, ooh, I'm getting a cool, awesome guitar for 97 euros or whatever it is, and then you have to start replacing things on it, you know, it's not really a 97 whatever guitar, it's more. The next thing, and this is actually horrible, like, this is maybe the worst I've ever seen on a guitar, especially a new guitar. There's one thing if you find a guitar in the basement, it's been lying there for 7 years and there's a bunch of spider web over it and things like that, and it's been mistreated. Things happen to neglected guitars, but this shouldn't happen to a new guitar. If you look real closely at these frets, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, I don't know if it picks it up well, but they are basically all black. They look like they've been relicked or something. They are covered in oxidation and weird gunk, and they are super scratchy. Another thing that's really weird with these frets is that they are really tiny. I don't know if you can see that, but that's not the kind of frets that any of my other Harley Bentons came with. They remind me of something that I've seen on a lot of old guitars. Sometimes you find it maybe like in a secondhand store or something, a really old acoustic guitar that has really weird, super thin frets, and they look really weird because they're so thin. And these frets just looks like that as well. Now, obviously, you can clean these frets, you can polish them up and get a nice sounding guitar, probably. But I just don't feel like this is okay for any guitar. At least having frets that look somewhat like they're from, you know, a new guitar and not a 100-year-old guitar. I think that is something you can at least ask for. And the next thing is, the neck feels very rough. I want to say that they haven't sanded the guitar after being cut out from the CNC machine. That's obviously not true because a CNC machine is even rougher, but it doesn't feel very nice at all. And I'm going to have to sand it. Which leads me into the 2 other things. And that is the roll-off on this fretboard. It feels and looks, I hope I'll be able to show you, but it feels and looks like they've done it with a chainsaw or something. Like, it's super rough. It doesn't feel like finished wood. It's really strange feeling because it feels like a guitar neck that has a rough cut fretboard on it. It has a little bit of fret sprout, but that could just be that it's been sitting somewhere not being taken care of and humidity has gotten the better of it. The next thing that is really weird is the color of the wood. I don't know if I can show you it. I'm gonna try. But if you look closely, you can see that it has a sort of orange color to it. But the thing is, it's not everywhere. Sometimes wood has a little bit of difference in color. Not all pieces of maple are going to look exactly the same. And so if I had a neck that had, you know, a little bit more orange into them, I wouldn't mind that because that's how it is. But this has something to do with the finish because, for example, they've clearly sanded through on the edge here, on the back, and you can see that it's white. You can see it on a couple of places, like right around here, and also around here. I don't know if the camera will focus on it, but there it is. And also up here, it has some sanding through wear. And so they've clearly put something on the neck afterwards, some sort of sealer or something, that has a little bit of color in it. And that's also annoying because they clearly didn't do that to the fretboard. The fretboard is one color, and the neck is darker. And I personally really dislike that. I feel like they're either going to have the same color or the fretboard is going to be darker. And that also shows a little bit of what sort of care goes into this, because if I was making this neck, and again I know, and I know you know that I know, this is a very expensive guitar. You don't have to tell me, I was the one who bought it. But when you sort your wood, if you know that you're going to make maple necks, you can sort the fretboard wood by the collar, and you could sort the neckwood by the collar. It's not something that should, you know, increase the price of the guitar 10 times, because it takes literally 2 seconds to do. Some things that I also find kind of weird with this neck in comparison to the other one is the shape down here. My other one was sort of more rounded over. This one is very sharp angled. It's actually a little bit more uncomfortable. This guitar neck is also thicker. Like, I immediately, the first thing I felt when I picked this up was, oh, this neck is thicker. So yes, the neck has clearly devolved than evolved. The tuners are basically the same. They look a little bit rougher. I feel like this was a rushed order or something. The next thing is the body. I don't know if the camera is going to be able to pick this up. The paint job at first glance looks really nice, and when I first picked it up I was like, oh, it looks just like my other one. But then I started comparing them, and I realized that when you move it in the light like this, you can see that there is some discoloration around here in this area. And it's one of those first day trying out spray painting mistakes where you start in the middle of the body and you move around and you get these weird blobs of paint. I can see them in the body when I hold it just the right way. It's sort of subtle, but it's one of those things that annoy me. Now I'm, without telling you too much, gonna remove the paint. So for me this doesn't bother me at all, but again, I'm doing these videos for others, not me. The next thing, and this is something that the other guitar has as well actually, but not as visible as this one does. And if any of you actually know how like Chinese factories spray their bodies, if there's like a machine that does it, if it's like, I don't know, some sort of CNC thing going on or something, please let me know, because I don't understand how you get this actually. And it's, I don't know if I can show you, but along here there is a weird line, and it looks almost like if you had two prints and you were trying to match them up and you got like a line in between two prints. But that doesn't make any sense to me because it's spray paint. At least I think it is. I haven't, you know, actually tried to remove the paint. So maybe I'll peel off a printed something. I don't know. But it has a weird line anyway, right here and across here where the carve meets the body. And it's really difficult to show you because you have to be really close like this to see it. I'm just telling you because I find it really strange and weird. I don't fault the guitar for having that line because, again, very inexpensive guitar. But I find it kind of weird, and I hope some of you know something about it and can maybe give me some information, because I'm curious about how that is done. The next thing is, which I don't know if you can see, but hopefully if I get some reflection on it, this output jack has tiny little bumps on it that you feel when you put your finger over it like this. It almost feels like the output jack has pimples or something. And it doesn't look that good. And I don't know what it is. I suppose it's like they didn't sand the metal before they chromed it or something, and it has unevenness underneath. I don't know. The same thing goes with the bridge. It also has these tiny little bumps. They're mostly under the saddles here, so it's more of a eyesore than it's something that affects the playing. The next thing is the string height and the neck. The neck is really bowed and the string height is really high. We're up at 6 millimeters of string height. Again, you can adjust these things, but if you are not an experienced, you know, repair guy, or then you might not be able to do these things and you'll have to take it to a shop. And if you're gonna buy this guitar and take it to a shop and have them fix all the issues, you're gonna pay 3 times the amount the guitar is actually worth. And so it might actually be better to just buy a guitar, you know, that is 3 times as expensive and from a more reliable brand. The electronics seems to be basically the same. They're pretty good. I would say that you don't really need to change them out unless you're going for a different sound. I feel like it's pretty quiet. There's not that much hum. There is obviously some because it has single coil pickups. The tremolo is really bad, but if you're just gonna have it clamped to the body and you're not gonna sway a lot, then it shouldn't be really an issue. Okay, so I decided to open up the back here anyway because I was just curious and really wanted to take a look and see what's happening in here. And as you can see, this is not at all acceptable. I don't know if you can, first of all, like look how gross these springs are. Like what the hell has happened here? This guitar has to have gone through some sort of weird issues when it was delivered to Thomann, and no one cared to open it up and check that the guitar was okay, because I can't imagine that they are okay with selling something that looks this bad. And second of all, how is this wire pulled? It's not supposed to, like, you put it in there, but you tug it underneath to the side. You don't put it in the middle just like, here you go. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be super interesting actually to take the pickguard off, because I am actually kind of excited to see what kind of a mess there is in there. Maybe I'll even find something like a dead rat or something, because this is crazy, or at least to me it is. I mean, don't forget, this is a new guitar, like brand new. The neck feels like it's on there good, so I think the bolts and the plate are good enough. I feel like the strap buttons work the way they are supposed to do, so you don't really have an issue there. So all in all, like I've said before, it sort of depends on who you are. If you're a new guitar player and you don't know anything about setup, do whatever you can to get more money into your budget and buy something nicer. I would look at something like a Squier or an Epiphone, for example. They're not perfect, but at least the consistency is there. You get what you pay for. Here it's sort of more hit and miss. I feel like Harley Benton is probably not actually a beginner brand. They sort of might seem like they are, but I feel like all their guitars come to you cheaper than guitars in that range, because you're supposed to do things to them yourself. Sort of like fancy guitar kits. I don't know, it's just a feeling I have about it, and we can talk about it more in the comments below if you want to. I would say that if you're a beginner, try to find something else. It's sort of hard if you're left-handed. If you're right-handed, there's so many other guitars. Go crazy. And they might actually even be better quality in right-handed version. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll actually get a third one of these guitars, and then we'll see if a right-handed might be better. But as a left-handed player, I would just say there are other companies out there that are making guitars that are better than what I have in my hands right here. But then again, you might get a good one, and if you get a good one, they can be really nice. Obviously, all inexpensive guitars come with shortcuts, things that they are not doing because it's too expensive and you do it yourself. Anyway, that is my review of this Harley Benton guitar. I'm not very impressed, as you might have realized from listening to me. I hope this helped. I hope you found the information you need to make a better judgment when it comes to acquiring one of these. Putting the pros and cons against each other. I feel like the biggest con is really that you don't know what you're getting, because you can't really buy from the price. You have to sort of be like, well, get whatever. That's the issue with Harley Benton. You could get a really nice guitar for a lot of money or a little money. You could buy one of their higher priced guitars, and it could be any quality. It could be a really good one or a really, really bad one, or any in between. There's no real like assurance of what is what. But all in all, I think that if you get a good one, you get a good one, and you can be really happy. I've had a lot of fun with my other Harley Benton of this sort of guitar, but with this one, yeah, it's for a video, and that's all it is. I am gonna make a video, and I'm gonna try to make it as quickly as possible so it comes out as soon as possible after this one, about the steps I would take to make this better. And it's basically just to help out anyone who has this guitar and that is really sad and that for some reason can't just send it back and hope to get a new one better, or that maybe has tried that and received one that is even worse. It's also a pretty good idea maybe for anyone who has any guitar out there that they're unhappy with. So even if you don't have one of these guitars, maybe it will help you. Hopefully it will, at least. Anyway, until next time, stay awesome and cool, and go and play guitar, because even if you don't have a super awesome, expensive guitar, guitar is still a lot of fun, and we all need to play guitar more. Even if you spend 24/7 playing guitar, you need to play more. invent a machine that gives us more hours in the day than 24, so we can all play more guitar.